Madam Assistant to our committee, if I could have someone to do roll call, please.
Pamela Corbett,
Present.
Emma James, Brittany Spees, Kathy McLean,
Present.
Michael Fraden, Karen Bartoletti,
Present.
Tawana Robach,
Present.
Annika Annette,
Present.
Warren Napper. Mr. Napper? I see his name there.
I
He
see
put
him.
himself on mute.
You're on mute, Mr. Napper.
It looks like he's frozen, actually.
Oh.
But we see him. He counts.
He's present.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the presence of everyone tonight. We will move the meeting timely. I also appreciate the city personnel that was able to send out our bylaws. One of our committee members asked about our bylaws and thought we were supposed to receive a copy of that, was requested in our last meeting. So I appreciate someone bringing that to my attention, and the bylaws were sent back out. Hopefully everyone received a copy. If you show a hand, if you received a copy of the email that included the bylaws. Very good. I see most hands. Thank you for doing that. All right. In your package, you received the minutes from the October meeting. Basically, we meet on a quarterly basis, and I appreciate everyone doing Zoom today. In that last meeting, we decided that we would do Zoom, at least for this meeting, and I believe for the next meeting, potentially for the next meeting, we may vote on it later in the spring period when it's a little bit warmer and perhaps some things can settle down as relates to the flu and so forth. So you receive the minutes. I will pause to see if anyone has any corrections or changes.
So I wasn't present. So do I just abstain?
That's fine if you want to choose to do that. That's
Okay.
very appropriate. Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes. I would like to,
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
thank you. May I hear a second, please?
I can second it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
Sure.
been moved and properly second that we receive the adoption of the minutes that were sent out to us in October. Again, I want to thank the staff from the city for, I'd like to thank the staff from the city for sending us out in the minutes, and they have been approved and adopted. I just noticed, I'm sorry.
Ms. Robach, my printer was going, so I'm not sure who'd second.
I did, Pam Corbett.
Oh, okay.
But
The
we
pre-
haven't voted, actually. We've just moved.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out to me. So it's been moved and properly second. I'd like to entertain a motion for accepting the minutes. Could I have a vote by all those saying aye, or either a show of hands? Let's do a show of hands.
Should we abstain if we were not there?
Oh, that's right. I can't.
Okay, let's see now. Will we have, with the abstentions, staff person, will we have enough to approve the minutes?
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum, okay. All right, let me see the hands that approve the minutes. Thank you, staff. Let's record the abstentions. May I see those hands? Thank you. It's been voted on and approved that we accept the minutes with 2 abstentions. Thank you. Ms. Corbett, is that good?
So far as I know.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you for pointing that out. All right. Hopefully you all received a copy of the agenda that went out in preparation for the meeting. So we just moved and approved the minutes. The next topic for the discussion, I would like to take a moment because we may have just a few new people. I noticed that Ms. Perkins or Ms. Annika indicated that she did not receive a copy of the bylaws. So Ms. Charlene, if you could please send those out to her, I'd appreciate it. Perhaps if she could put her email address in the chat box.
I'm doing that now. Thank y'all.
Thank you, thank you. So she's putting her email address in the chat box so that she can receive a copy of the bylaws as well. Let us all pause and introduce ourselves. I can't say I can do any particular order. I'll just go by what I see here on the list. I am Tawana Wellman Roebuck. I'm the Director of Experiment and Self-Reliance. I've been now on the committee for at least a couple of years now. It is my honor to try to direct our meetings and to the best of my ability, be the lead and spokesperson for this group. I appreciate any input and recommendations that you all have so that we can get this right. The next person I see on the screen is Ms. Karen. If you will introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Karen Bartoletti. This is my first meeting, so I'm going to be following the lead of everybody else here. I have lived in Winston for over 30 years and served in a variety of organizations, including what was then Sara Lee Corporation, Novant, the YMCA, and am privileged to now be retired and have the opportunity to give back, serving the community in lots of various volunteer ways, including this.
Thank you, Karen. I don't know if you remember me. I
Of course
remember
I
you
do, Tawana.
from my days at United Way. Thank you.
Well, we've crossed paths over the years in many different ways. It's good to see you and to have your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Pamela, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, Pamela Corbett. I've been in Winston-Salem since, oh gosh, 78, long time. Have served on a number of boards, but I'm beginning to rotate off. I'd like to start doing more direct impact kind of work. I'm a psychologist. I have a private practice here in Winston-Salem. Most of what I do now is leadership and executive coaching and some career counseling, and I still do some clinical, but mostly in the leadership development arena. And actually, I'm not sure if this is my last meeting or not. We got a list here of our membership, and I see that I expire, well, maybe I don't, but my term expires in April. So here I am.
Oh my, Paula, I've learned so much from you, Pamela. I've learned so much from you already, so I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Indeed.
mostly about what not to do.
I don't know about that. But thank you, thank you. All right, next, there's a gentleman's face that I see. I've forgotten now what they said to me his name was. It has is this Mr. Napper?
I think we lost him.
Oh, did we?
I don't see him on here.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
he's trying to get back in.
Okay.
Since he froze.
All right. Captain Allen, if you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm excited to see you all again. And I just want to start off by saying thank you for your commitment to this committee and the time that it takes to serve on it. So thank you so much. My name is Captain Katie Allen. I'm the captain of the Professional Standards Division here at the Winston-Salem Police Department. Been in that position since July. Prior to that, I was a captain over our Support Services Division, but I've been with the agency for this is my 23rd year. And a lifelong resident of Winston-Salem. So excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Miss Charlene, if you'll introduce yourself, please.
Hi again, Ms. Bartoletti. We met when we did the training. I am the secretary for this board, and I work with the city attorney's office.
Nice to see you again. Thank you for the training and for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank-
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are there any persons present that I may not have said your name?
Mr. Napper is back and Brittany Spees came on.
Thank you. We are in the process of introducing ourselves. Many of us have shared how we have been serving on this board and how long. And so if you would introduce yourself and tell us where you are from professionally.
I will go, and I'm sorry, my camera's not on. I'm in the car. My name is Brittany Spees. In terms of work history, I'm currently senior counsel for Lincoln Financial Group on the Life Products team. And I started that position last June. Prior to that, I was an assistant federal public defender here in the Middle District, so Winston-Salem, at that office, and I was there for 3 years. And before that, I was an assistant state public defender at the Forsyth County Public Defender's Office for 4.5 years. And I have been on the board, I feel like maybe 2 years, but I think it may have been longer than that. But I have certainly enjoyed my time here, and welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you. Is there someone else who would like to introduce themselves?
Yes, I'll go. Hello, my name is Jaquay Perkins, aka Annika Annette. I am a graduate of the City of Winston-Salem University. I've served on a couple of boards. Yeah, excuse me. I'm I'm trying to think too far ahead right now. I also outside of my day job, I'm a political activist for a political grassroots organization in Winston. I've been on this particular board for about 2 years now. I'm kind of like where Brittany, and I know it's give or take 2 years. And that is basically it. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. I appreciate that. Now, there's a nice looking gentleman with a dark necktie. I don't want you to be left out. So if you could tell us who you are.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sergeant Michael Perkins. I am the newest member to the Winston-Salem Police Department's Professional Standards Division. I've been with this department for 12 years. This year will make 13. Prior to moving to professional standards, I served 5 years in the patrol division and 7 years on the K-9 unit, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Miss Kathy, I don't want to leave you out.
Kathy McLean, I teach at the Winston-Salem Street School, and like Pamela, I am also expiring in April.
No, I
Your
just got
term is
started.
expiring, not you.
I feel like I just got started. Y'all have to tell me what I'm doing right. Thank you. We have our quarterly report that is a document that we receive during each meeting. I believe it was in our packet. I'm almost certain. And so what I'd like to ask those that are responsible for the report, you could please give us an update on it as it's stated in our packet.
Certainly. So I also wanted to mention really quick, as you all are aware, the city's in the process of hiring a new police chief. So just so you're familiar, Chief Katrina Thompson retired since we last met. And so they're actually in the process, kind of in the final stages. I think they're doing the public forum tonight, and next week there'll be some other additional forums. So by the next time we meet, we will have a new police chief, just so you are aware. So anyway, we'll start on these quarterly statistics. So I'll start with the departmental statistics. So if you want to grab that sheet, we actually had a pretty quiet fourth quarter, knock on wood, in terms of internal departmental complaints. So as you look down the paperwork, we had one complaint for the departmental directives. And that was, it's still an open complaint. Departmental directives is typically a violation of a policy. So that's what we would classify as that. If you flip the page in the fourth quarter, We had one departmental complaint for an unsatisfactory performance. That is still an open investigation. And then we had 10 violations for operation of vehicles. So that's typically like obviously a car crash. 5 of those were sustained already. So those investigations are complete, and those officers were found to be in violation. And then 5 are currently still open and being investigated. Are there any questions about the departmental
I
complaints?
apologize. Captain Ellen, this is Karen Bartoletti. May I ask a question, this being my first meeting?
Sure.
Just to clarify what departmental means. That means somebody within the department registered the complaint?
Correct. So it comes
Okay, thank you.
internally. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the departmental complaints?
So, Ms. Captain, I think I asked in the last meeting only because probably my eyesight is failing, in that I am struggling to see the numbers outlined. I think we talked about this in the last meeting. So if we could be encouraged to try to fix this so it's more legible, please, ma'am.
So we looked at that, and I'm going to talk to our IT folks. I don't know that there's a way that we have to adjust the gray. And so maybe we just, when we get these in the future, we'll just darken the letters, handwritten over the letters, and then send the copy over to you guys. That might be the easiest thing to do, because I don't think the automated program allows us to remove that gray, which is what makes it hard to see. So I will look at doing that for the next time.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. So if there's no other questions about the departmental, we'll move on to the citizen complaints.
I'm sorry, again, for clarification.
No, you're fine.
Being the new kid. Up above, you told us there were 12. You're saying there are 7 here, and I know you said 5 were sustained, but where were those 5? What kind of complaints were they?
So those 5, if you flip to the back page, there were 10 total complaints for operation of vehicles. 5 of those have been sustained. 5 of those are currently still open. So
I see how to read it. Thank you.
okay, gotcha. And please ask the questions. Don't feel bad about asking them. So we'll move on to the citizen complaints. So these are complaints that were actually filed by a citizen of the agency. And as you can see in our 4th quarter, it was extremely quiet. We did not have any complaints filed against any officers in the 4th quarter of the year. So that's good news. Any questions on that at all? Okay. Thank you.
I don't think we need a formal vote or anything, but hearing no questions, additional questions about either one of the documents, I certainly want to thank the captain for sharing these documents with us. The next thing on the agenda deals with new business. One of the things that we talked about in previous meetings, I don't know if this is under new business or just where, but we talked about potential training for this committee. In one of the meetings, one of the representatives from the police department did a wonderful job of explaining what this chart means and how we can have a better mindset or framework in terms of the utilization of this particular document, but we want to thank them. One of the things that we asked, I believe it may have been, I don't know if it was in October or before, at that particular time, it was a warm period of time. We were having some challenges at the mall. And so we just wanted to know procedurally in terms of how is the police called and how do we utilize them. You may not be prepared to answer that question now, but as I recall, Ms. Red, that was one of the things that I probably actually brought up. Does anyone remember that other than me?
No, you're correct. During that meeting, there was a question, or I think the request from the review board at the time was a very broad kind of training on gun violence and how the Winston-Salem Police Department handles gun violence. And what, in discussing with Captain Allen and I think Captain Gomez, because that's when they were transitioning, passing the baton, if you will, we determined that was a very broad topic, and it wasn't something that lent itself to being able to be condensed into a presentation that would fit within the parameters of our quarterly meeting. And what between Captain Allen and, I'm sorry, now he's Assistant Chief Gomez, what we did agree to do was to work together to come up with a list of topics, potential trainings that police staff would be able to present to the group. And that is actually the item that is under, it is the second item under new business training topics. So we hadn't quite got there yet. And so I don't want to take things out of turn, but that is on the agenda for later on for discussion. But the next item up is the discussion of the nominating committee.
Thank you. So in terms of the nominating committee, we just heard two names that have been on the committee for some time. Typically, there is a small set of nominating members from this particular body. Our entire group, is it 9 members? Is that true? I guess I can pull out the list and just count them.
It's 9 members so far.
So basically, we're looking at, usually it's an odd number, so we're looking at either 3 to 5 individuals. Now, No, I see a head shaking. Tell me.
So the actual membership of the board, they are recommended by the mayor and approved by city council. Those are handled by the mayor's office. I would point out, and thank you for requesting that you say bylaws, we can say rules and regulations go out, because while you do have a term end date, if you will look in the bylaws, members serve until they are replaced. And that's just because because council has to vote and the mayor has to recommend. And so in order to ensure that we don't have a mass exodus before the new people are approved, your term may end in April, but we meet in March, and then so we may need you at that next meeting, depending how quickly council can get the new members approved. But what we would be nominating, or what would we be selecting, or you all would be voting for members for the nominating committee, is for your chair and vice chair. Those positions are 1-year positions, and because I guess we were so excited in November about finally meeting in person and trying to get the vote about whether or not to resume virtual meetings or in-person meetings, it was inadvertently left off of the agenda. Normally we would select our 3 members of the nominating committee at our November meeting. They would then, between November and December, reach out to members of the board to ascertain whether or not they were interested in serving as either chair or vice chair. And then in the January meeting, come back to you with a slate of officers for you to vote on. But since we didn't do that in November, we are now doing it in January. And then we will be back at our April meeting with that slate of officers to vote, so that you'll have your chair and vice chair for 2023.
All right. So with all of that stated, do I need 3 members from this group to volunteer, or do I await the appointments that will come from the mayor and city council?
So the members tonight, either they can nominate themselves, or just, I think the last 2 groups, they volunteered to serve as nominating committee members. That would be from within this group. And then the new members that would come aboard would be at some point later in the spring, when council and the mayor's office recommends and council approves those recommendations.
All right.
So you're looking for a nominating committee right now?
Yes.
And that
For
could
three,
be,
yes, for
that
3
could be-
current board members willing to serve on the nominating committee to identify candidates for your 2023 chair and vice chair.
now they don't have to be present tonight to be asked to be on the nominating committee,
No, they
right?
don't.
That's
No,
what you get for not showing up.
no, they don't. They don't have to be present. We like for people to not be voluntold, for people to kind of know what they're getting themselves into. But if there is someone who has previously identified that they would be interested in serving in such capacity and aren't here tonight, we can certainly reach out to them after the meeting to confirm that.
Well, so those are 2 actions. One is the nominating committee.
Mhm.
And then the second action is identifying who's going to be chair, or who's going to be put up for vote for chair and vice chair.
That is
Two separate
what the
things.
nominating committee is charged with doing
Right.
between
Right.
tomorrow and our April meeting.
And Twana, I think you called me last time, didn't you? Yeah, you did that.
So since I'm sort of getting called out, I am chairman and I don't mind serving on the nominating committee. So I will volunteer before I'm voluntold. So I will, I'll volunteer to be on the nominating committee.
Okay, do I have any other interest?
Well, you know, I don't think it's a good idea for me to volunteer, or for that matter, Kathy, since we're not going to be serving with whoever's going to be leading it. So you might want to call on one or two of the other folks, whether they're here or not.
Okay, so again, you might be, because your term in essence would expire
Well,
at the end of April. We meet
right.
April 20th. And if
Well, I'm
council
talking
does-
about for the next year. I mean, for the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
year.
so yes, so it would be 2023, yes, so yes. So it essentially would be 4 meetings, yes.
Right. Anyway, so
So
you
I
had a pretty
know-
good group last time. Twana, why don't you just reconvene that group? They were a pretty good nominating committee.
Now, I don't remember, does the secretary remember who those people were? Seems like I was involved.
Actually, I'm looking I'm looking.
Brittany was involved, I think.
Who?
Yeah, myself and
Mike, maybe?
Mike. Yep, Mike Fraden. And I'm happy to volunteer as well.
Okay, so we've got Brittany, and I see I have a phone number. Are we talking about Michael
Braden.
Braden? I don't mind calling Michael if I need to.
Good idea.
I mean, we
Okay,
can reach out to him if that's, or if there's someone here who is interested and would like to join tonight, or like to self-select tonight, we can do that. Or if not, we can reach out to Mike tomorrow.
so help us out. We've got myself and we've got Brittany who's volunteered. So if you all could help us by reaching out to Michael to see if he's willing to serve on the nominating committee, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, just to make sure, I don't want to foreclose anyone else's, if there's a burning desire to serve on the nominating committee, I don't want to take that opportunity from anyone here in the meeting before we reach out to Mr. Fraden.
Karen, I think they're looking at you.
Don't you think I should have been at more than one meeting before I
Well,
nominate?
Brittany and Tawana and Mike, I think they were all newbies when they
Okay,
served.
the reason I'm holding back, I mean, I'm happy to help, but I think it seems a little I don't know,
Premature?
shallow of me to do so when I've only been at one meeting.
She just said-
Karen, I
just
think
said-
that's, I'm sorry, Karen, I think that's fair. So,
I mean, if y'all need me, I am here. I just don't want to nominate myself when I've only been in one meeting and I can't even apparently read the reports correctly. So you might want to wait on me.
well, you and I are in a similar boat. I can't see them, so.
Okay, I'll read them to you. You tell me what they mean next time, okay? But again, I'm happy to help Ms. Rudd if you need somebody to help, but I think I'm pretty much a weak candidate at the moment.
Okay, so here's what I would recommend then. Since we have the current recommendation of Ms. Roebuck, Ms. Spees, and Mr. Fraden, you all can move forward and vote on that slate for the nominating committee. And in the event that Mr. Fraden is unable to participate, I'll bring it back to the group. And at that point in time, we can put another name forward.
At
Thank
that point in time, if that doesn't work, I will be the weak link on the nominating committee.
Thank you.
Well,
All
then,
right.
if that were the case, what we could do is we could put forth the 3 names and name Ms. Bartoletti as an alternate. So that way you wouldn't have to have a second vote.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So do I need to ask for a formal vote of these 3 persons? Or
Yes, ma'am, you do.
Do
Okay. Given that I'm on the list as a member, should I do the motion? Is that okay? Or can I ask somebody else?
Well, you can, or you can, but your vice chair is on as well. And I mean, we're a small group, so I don't think that it's problematic. You know, or if you want to, ask someone to make the
Pam,
motion.
if I,
'cause again,
Pam,
yeah.
if I can ask you to
Sure.
lead the motion, please, ma'am.
Sure, I move that Tawana, Mike, and Brittany serve as our nominating committee.
Second, this is Karen. I second that.
Thank you. All right, so let the record show that
You have to vote on it.
Miss Pamela, if you'll lead us in a vote, ma'am.
All those in favor say aye, or raise your hand.
I cannot
Okay, I
see
see
the
one,
whole
2, 3.
screen.
Does anybody oppose? Anybody abstain? Brittany, are you there? We can't see your hand or hear you. And
I
how about
can't.
Warren?
I
And
said
how about Warren?
aye.
Warren, are you there?
I'm here.
So did you vote?
I'm in agreement.
Okay,
All right.
All right. And then there will be the second one of naming Ms. Bartoletti as the alternate if Mr. Frayton is unable to serve.
I so move.
Okay, and then is there a second?
I second.
Okay,
Thank you. That's Mr. Napper.
all right, and all in favor?
say aye.
Aye, I'm gonna wave. I'm in favor.
Okay.
Aye.
3,
Okay, I see. I got you, Brittany, and Miss Annette. Okay,
4.
I don't think I can
And we
vote on
got
myself, so
Kathy.
I'm abstaining.
okay. Ms.
All right.
Bartoletti,
I see Kathy waving.
Yeah, we have Kathy.
her.
Mhm.
Okay. All
Okay, and
right.
any opposed? Okay, then I think we're good to go. Thank you very much.
Very good. Very good. Miss Red, I think I jumped the gun a little bit talking about training for this body of people. Could you remind us what our intent is, please?
Yes, so following the request at our last meeting regarding what sort of departmental trainings or topics the police department would have someone available to come and to present to the Citizens Police Review Board on what items may be relevant to what you need to know to do your job while serving on this board. The following topics, and some of these may be repeat topics, but they're on the list because there are new people on the board, and I imagine that will happen as people cycle off and come back on. But there were 5 general topics that were put forth, those being the Winston-Salem Police Department rules of conduct. What are they? How are they used? When are they used? An overview of the Professional Standards Division, who files complaints, what the process is, how that works. Use of force, when is it used, how is it used, under what circumstances. And Captain Allen, by any means, if I'm butchering these or not going to as much detail as you think sufficient, please feel free to jump in. Search practices in terms of when, what, how, and then the internal review process, because we feel like based on the types of complaints we've seen over the years, the types of issues that have come up, at least as the time I've served as the staff liaison during the review hearings, these were kind of the areas where there was robust discussion and then some questions surrounding what the policies were or what was appropriate and what was not appropriate. So we've identified those just as kind of the baseline trainings that WSPD would be on hand to provide if the group so desired to have those types of trainings on the agenda at a future date.
And the other thing I just wanted to mention is we can certainly, I kind of chose topics that I felt were the most common things that we see. But certainly if a case came before you all and you had some questions about, whatever that specific allegation was and some additional training was needed, we could formulate something specific to a case if you needed to know something else. So we could do that if that need arose.
Thank you. Ms. Perkins, I recall that this was an area of interest that you had regarding us being trained. Does this fulfill some of the thoughts that you might have had?
Yes, yes, excuse me, I apologize. Someone actually just called me just now, so I only heard partially of what was being said. And you said the trainings on what again, Ms. Roebuck?
Captain, would you just briefly explain again, or was that Keisha?
I'm happy to do it. I'll take it. So, Ms. Annette, we came up with a list of topics that were basically the biggest complaints and the biggest issues that we see in the agency, and then what would be most beneficial to this group and what you're tasked with doing. So the topics that we came up with, we're going over just an overview of the rules of conduct of our agency and what they are, and kind of give you some more information about those. An overview of the professional standards division and how complaints come in and kind of what we do and how we investigate those. Use of force, which I know some of you have already had, but we're happy to provide that again, just a basic understanding of use of force. Search practices. So a lot of our complaints stem from, was an officer allowed to be searching or conducting a search? And so just kind of a quick overview of, search warrants, those type of things. And then some training on the internal review process. And so when an internal complaint is filed, so a department employee files a complaint, how that process is handled. So there's just kind of a baseline of topics. And then we'd also offer topics as needed if a case came up where you needed some more information on it.
Yes, that's actually perfect. I'm actually also interested in maybe like in a peephole into the implicit bias trainings. Could that be accessed some type of way?
That would be something I think that maybe Keisha and I would need to talk to and get some more specifics on exactly what you're looking at in terms of, I guess my question is, are you kind of looking at like how we're trained in terms of implicit bias and bias-based policing and all those different trainings that we see, kind of what those training topics are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so Keisha and I can certainly talk about that, and we can talk about the training that the various trainings that officers received in certain aspects. And so that's something that we can have a conversation to see if it's applicable to the functions of this group. So we can certainly talk about that.
Okay, thank you so much for going back over that. I apologize.
No problem.
Is there any
Personally, I would I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you all thought about ride-alongs? I don't know if this group has ever done ride-alongs. I've done it in another capacity, and it is quite an eye-opener. And I'm just wondering if this group, if it's appropriate for this group to consider it.
I
That'd
certainly
be a
think
question for Keisha. I don't know what if the rules or anything, keep that from happening. We certainly do have them. So I would pass that question to Keisha.
Right, I would have to consult with our risk management department, obviously. I know, again, they've been offered for other groups. I think maybe even the City University group may do them as well. But I don't know the specifics of how that is put together. So I will reach out to our risk management department and inquire about that and have an update for you at the April meeting.
Thank you. I do want to remind the group, I have to admit, I don't have it with me in the moment, but I do want to remind the group. So Keisha or Madam Secretary, something could be sent. I want this group to be reminded of the purpose of this group. And certainly when we say the purpose, one of the capacities that I recall is to be available to hear the complaints of both our community at large, if someone feels like they were wrongfully treated by the police department or by a police officer. So I just want to remind us, that whatever actions or training that we take, it fits with why we exist. And so Ms. Keisha and the Secretary, if it's possible to send us the why for us to just as a reminder, that would be most helpful as well. Seems like something came up similar to this, not necessarily the ride about, but seems like the previous attorney that was here who's out ill did remind us of our purpose. So I want to make sure that it aligns with the vision of this group.
So that's in the front page or first page of the bylaws, actually.
Thank you, ma'am.
Or at least it speaks to purpose.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just a comment on the 5 topics formally listed and the several other requests about the bias training or potential ride-alongs. Personally, I would love to be trained in all of those areas. I think I would learn a lot, and hopefully it would help me bring more to future meetings.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I can ask the staff to certainly remind us of the possibilities as it relates to risk management, and be prepared to present that to us in April. I think it's worth certainly a topic. I appreciate Pamela and Karen bringing that up, and Ms. Perkins indicating to us that that could be an interest that we have for us as a group.
And Keisha, I'll send you an email with our policy on ride-alongs and just the waiver that we have, so you can have that when you talk to them.
I was so appreciative in the last training, Captain, where it was explained where we might have a person that stopped by the police that may be of a different culture and speak a different language. And I was so pleased to hear that someone is called if that particular voice or officer is unable to communicate effectively because of the language differences. I was so appreciative of the fact that we were cognizant of bringing someone in that could certainly relate and hear, and just to make sure that the person understood either the charges or what the particular specific situation was. So I recall that, and I was really, really pleased during that last training to hear that that's something that we are aware of, and that's something that we try to do. If you allow me to switch the topic a bit, Captain, you shared with us that we're in the process of selecting a new police chief. When it's appropriate, I would like to ask if we could receive as a committee what the critical objectives are in selecting a chief, even if it's the viewpoint of the chief in terms of providing adequate training. I know our past chief was deliberately and intentionally, she spoke with this group one time about the importance of our officers getting appropriate training and so forth. So I would like for this group to hear what the vision is. I understood someone to say that we'll have a new police chief by the next time we meet. And so I would like to hear a little bit about the vision and expectations that the new chief might have. Is that possible?
Certainly, whenever that person is selected, we can certainly have that conversation, and then Keisha and I can talk and see if we can get them on the agenda to just attend the meeting, to introduce themselves and just kind of speak with y'all. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see who's selected and if it fits into the next schedule. And if not, we'll ensure that something happens. So yes, that's certainly
Great.
possible.
Thank you. Now, that's just my opinion. Are there members of the group that are either in agreement with me or want to do a different direction? Please raise your hand and speak now.
Initially, you were asking what the selection criteria were for the chief of police, but then I think I misunderstood that, because then it sounded like you were interested in hearing whoever is selected, what their sort of philosophy is.
Yes, mainly because I think it was Ms. Keisha said that by the time we meet again in April, the person would be selected.
Right.
So I certainly want to know what the vision of the person is.
Sure.
Yes. Now, that's just my viewpoint. Are there other members that might have some ideas? Yes,
I would love to hear that as well. Just, where their philosophy and where they think our current perhaps issues are, and what the strategy is for getting to the next level.
Thank you, Ms. Karen.
I agree.
I would share that Katrina did both the sheriff and the chief of police did presentations with the Leadership Winston-Salem alums. And I think they were recorded. They were both incredibly informative and moving. They were just the most amazing presentations I would never have anticipated, especially on a Zoom thing, but it was Zoom, and what they shared personally as well as professionally was just incredibly impactful. So I think, Tawana, you're on the right path in asking for that opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
But one thing that I wanted to point out, because some of this information may be publicly available and able for you to access it prior to our next meeting. The forum that is going on tonight is, and please, Captain Allen, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding, it is a public forum for city staff to get input from the community. And then there will be another forum on the 25th in which the information and questions gathered from tonight's session will be put to the top candidates, of whom the police chief will be selected from. So if you want to hear the vision philosophy of the candidates that are before the city in terms of who would be in contention for the top job, you should be able to watch. I believe it will be live streamed, if you don't want to attend in person, live stream to watch that forum as it takes place on the 25th. There should be information about it on the city website, but I will find out and forward that information to you all as a group.
It is on the city's website. It's also on the city's Facebook page and Instagram. I think the news is regularly reporting it too. And then you can also submit questions. I think there's an email address if you go to the advertisement, maybe on the city's website, or I know on Facebook, where if you couldn't attend tonight, obviously we're in this meeting, but you can submit questions that could possibly be answered by the candidates next week.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but it's something to be said to get that person to certainly come and be a part of this group, especially since we have the responsibility of listening to grievances that either our community people could have related to the police department. So if nothing else, I'd like for us to meet this person as well as this person be aware of who we are as well. Okay. All right. We're nearing the end of our agenda. It's actually been a robust discussion tonight, so I certainly appreciate that. Are there other things that might be triggers on someone's mind that they wish to share?
I did want to point out, this is a Warren Napa. I did want to point out again, I've listened to the conversation about meeting people and hearing what their agendas are and stuff like that. And I, like I say, I'm not a buff with technology, but don't you guys think that when you meet people and you talking to people about what their objectives are, don't you think that a personal in-person meeting would be better than this virtual thing?
Mr. Napper, I think your point is very well taken. In our October meeting, I think we discussed that we would talk about potentially coming back in person after that spring period, I believe. And so certainly, sir, I think your point is very well taken. Many of you know I'm the director of ESR, and I now have not visually touched my board members for, a good little period now, at least 6 months, because they voted to go virtual. And I think we have lost something with some of the virtual kinds of things that many groups are doing. So, Mr. Napper,
I totally agree.
I respect your point, and not everybody, and I'm guilty myself, not everyone is so computer savvy. So, sir, your point is very well taken.
Yes, that the vote at the November meeting was for the first 2 meetings of 2023 to be held virtually. And then there would be a vote at that April meeting whether to resume in-person meetings or to continue virtual meetings. So that will be back on the agenda in April.
Mr. Napper, I want you to make sure that I am open to our discussion, sir. And we will certainly have it at the front of my mind on the agenda. I think Keisha sort of knows that by me now, that I tend to remember what we say. So, Mr. Sir Napper, I certainly am going to embrace your suggestion, sir, and I appreciate you sharing your viewpoint, sir.
And I do remember the last meeting that we talked about it, but I just wanted to kind of like put that back so you put that sweep on the road.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Are there,
Hey, Ms. Roebuck, may I ask a question really quick, just so I'm clear then, if a new chief is selected, would the preference be that if the new chief were to attend a meeting, we would want to wait till not the next meeting in April till one that was in person. Is that the preference of, I just didn't want to make a schedule to have a new chief attend in April if we would rather do it in person, if our next meeting is going to be a Zoom meeting.
My personal pleasure is for it to be in person.
Okay.
I will pause to see what our membership thinks.
Well, again, you would be voting in April. So if the option or if the group elects in April to resume in-person meetings, then your next meeting would be in July. And that's when you would potentially have the chief there in person. So that's just wanted to clarify. April is going to be virtual. July and November could potentially be in person.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think you're responding to the captain by saying, don't schedule the new person before July.
Got it.
Thank you, Pamela, for clarifying. Thank you. All right. Anything else for the good of the cause? Now, don't y'all complain after the fact. If y'all got some on your mind, you may as well tell me now.
I move that we adjourn.
All in favor?
I
That's it.
second.
Second,
We've got a motion and a second for adjournment. Any opposition to us adjourn? And if so, we're gonna talk after class. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys so much. Y'all stay warm. Right now it's warm, but I think the cold is coming.
Yeah.
You all
You're
stay
right.
warm.
Thank
nice to meet you all.
Thank you,
Good.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.